the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation, light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous, don't be scared. Go to CarlsonDentalGroup.com. That's CarlsonDentalGroup.com for all of your dental needs.
This is your Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update. I'm Taylor Dahl for 1010XL. Former Jaguars tight end Kyle Brady joined Jaguars today earlier this morning. Here he shared his thoughts on the Jaguars having the key elements to win.
I think what we have here now is the right leadership in Coach Peterson, and you have to have obviously a dynamic and high-performing quarterback, and I think we have that as well. So we've got the building blocks, we've got a foundation we can build upon, in addition to a lot more talent than just the coach and the quarterback, and but those are our key elements.
Visit 1010XL.com for more from Kyle Brady. It's 75 degrees at 6 o'clock. Time and temper brought to you by Bueller Air Condition. Stay cooler with Bueller.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. The sports world keeps spinning, and the local conversation continues. Now, Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Wednesday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, an early edition for Hacker After Dark tonight, 1010XL 92.5 FM. We are in for Rick Ballou with Dylan Denmark, the Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us as, ladies and gentlemen, 10 days into NFL free agency, the Jacksonville Jaguars have actually signed some players that were not here in 2022. 3 new Jacksonville Jaguars, a running back, and a couple of interior defensive linemen. We will give you the skinny on all those guys coming up in just one moment as the Jaguars finally do something. Now, again, I don't think any of these are earth-shattering. In fact, I think 2 of these 3 guys that signed today may be competing for one job, but the Jaguars did do something. We will certainly spend some time on that as 3 players signed today with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Coming up in about 20 minutes or so, Dalton Miller, Pro Football Network. He's one of their lead analysts. He will join us. We'll talk a little Jacksonville Jaguars, the offseason to this point. I also want to spend some time with Dalton on the AFC South. My goodness, you look at that division. I saw an AFC Power Rankings chart that came out last night. Houston, Indianapolis, and Tennessee on this given ranking board were 3 of the 4 worst teams in the AFC right now. 3 of the 4 worst. Every other team in the AFC South. Jacksonville came in at number 6. I thought that was too low. We'll spend some time on that in a little bit. But I want to talk with Dalton about the AFC South and are Houston, Indy, and Tennessee really as far behind Jacksonville as some believe. So we'll do that. Also coming up in a little closer to 7 o'clock this evening, Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network. He sat down, had a nice conversation with former Gator linebacker Ventrell Miller. He'll give you the thoughts of Ventrell Miller. We'll also talk Anthony Richardson and obviously look at the 24th pick in the draft with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So we got a lot to do. We're ready till 8 o'clock. We're glad you're with us on an early edition of Hacker After Dark. Every night here on HAD, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal? What is the big deal?
No big deal. It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
Okay, so 3 new Jacksonville Jaguars. We talked about 2 interior defensive linemen. We'll get to them in a moment. Let's get to probably the biggest signing of the day, D'Ernest Johnson. Now, for you fantasy football players out there, that includes myself, right when you heard the name D'Ernest Johnson, you thought, I've heard of that guy before. Where have I heard of D'Ernest Johnson? Well, back in 2021, the Ernest Johnson got in because the Cleveland Browns had some running back injuries, and he actually ran the ball 100 times for over 500 yards, averaged over 5 yards a carry, including a Thursday night game, Denmark, which I know you have a highlight from, where D'Ernest Johnson back in 2021 went absolutely nuts.
The handoff, Johnson again. Wow. Oh, man. Got a block from Wyatt Teller, but D'Ernest Johnson. I think we know who's getting the game ball after this one.
That was a Thursday night win for Cleveland over Denver, a 168-yard rushing performance for D'Ernest Johnson back in 2021. Again, the guy averaged over 5 yards a carry. 100 carries, 534 yards. Now, last year, he was absolutely buried on the depth chart. That's what happens when Nick Chubb is healthy and Kareem Hunt is healthy. So after a 534-yard performance in 2021, he literally carried the ball 4 times last year for 17 yards. So he was desperate to get out of Cleveland. He gets out of Cleveland today, signing a contract with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Does this move the needle at all for the Jaguars? No, but I do think it is the biggest of the 3 signings today. And I'll tell you this, I'm not sure if D'Ernest Johnson isn't the backup running back now. I'm not sure I'm doing backflips about this if I'm JaMycal Hasty. Because, JaMycal Hasty re-signed here for 2 years. I like what JaMycal Hasty did. But D'Ernest Johnson, when he's been given an opportunity, few and far between, even last year on the 4 carries, he averaged over 4 yards a carry. 4 carries for 17 yards. The guy has performed. So now your running back room is Travis Etienne, JaMycal Hasty / D'Ernest Johnson, and then you still got Snoop Connor, a couple of other guys as well. Will they do anything else at running back? I don't know. Am I 100% sold that D'Ernest Johnson makes the 53-man roster? I'm not 100%, but I'm probably 80%. I think of the 3 guys that signed today with Jacksonville, Johnson is probably the most likely to make the 53-man roster. Michael Dogbe from Arizona actually started 4 years with the Cardinals last year. He signs with the Jaguars today, 6'3", 295 pounds. He's going to be 27 years old next month. Last year with Arizona, in 4 starts, played 13 games. Dogbe had, 28 tackles, 14 solo, 1 tackle for loss. He's a guy. He's a younger version of Corey Peters. He's Adam Gotsis, perhaps. Is he going to turn the Jaguars into an all-world defense? No. But he's a guy that's played a lot. He's played in 40 NFL games. He started 5 NFL games in the last 2 years. He's a guy you bring in here, you see what he's got. Again, 28 tackles last year would have been more than Arden Key made in a Jaguar uniform. Dogbe did not record a sack, though, for the Arizona Cardinals 1 year ago. And then finally, the last guy that was signed was Henry Mondu, 6'4", 280 pounds. Spent his first 2 years in the league in Pittsburgh. Played last year with the New York Giants. Actually started 4 games with the Giants last year. Started 2 games with Pittsburgh in 2021 and recorded 2 quarterback sacks. I don't know if Mondu and Dogbe are not competing for 1 roster spot. It's interesting you signed both guys today. That could literally be for a roster spot. When you think about the interior of that defensive line, right? Roy Robertson Harris, Foley Fatukasi, Devon Hamilton, Adam Gotsis. You know, how many more guys are you going to have in there? How many more bodies are you going to have in there? Corey Peters is gone more than likely. You have not re-signed DeJuan Smoot yet. So you got guys you need to replace. You bring these 2 guys in today. I think one of them for sure makes the roster. I'm not sure if both guys make the roster. So again, the Jaguars signed these 3 players. I don't think you should mark your calendars for a Super Bowl appearance, but they're bringing in depth. They're trying to improve the back half of the roster. And at the end of the day, Jacksonville, Florida, I'm just happy that after 9 or 10 days of free agency, we're actually talking about players the Jaguars went out and acquired. That brings me to this. It was something I was talking about with Lauren, with Hayes, and with D-Rock there at the 2-minute drill. Are the Jaguars better now, or are they worse off now than they were 60 days ago? That's right, 60 days ago. The season ended at Arrowhead 2 months ago yesterday. Hard to believe, right? It's been 2 months since the season came to an end. Where did those 2 months go? And a lot of people are easy to say, well, they're obviously worse off. Hacker, they lost Jawan Taylor, they lost Arden Key. All right. Yeah, maybe you are right. Maybe you are right. They added Calvin Ridley. Does Calvin Ridley offset Arden Key? I don't know. Arden Key got 4.5 sacks last year. Again, I don't think that's as big a loss as some are making it out to be. But I'll go back to what I told them at the 2-minute drill a couple of minutes ago. There was legitimate talk walking off that field at Arrowhead 60 days ago that Roy Robertson Harris, Jamal Agnew, Rayshon Jenkins, maybe some others would be salary cap casualties, that they would have to be cut. We talked about that a lot, about Robertson Harris and Agnew and Jenkins, among others. And right now, here on the 23rd day of March? 22nd day of March. 22nd day of March. Right now, you know Roy Robertson Harris is back. They gave him an extension. You would expect Rayshon Jenkins to be back. You would expect Jamal Agnew to be back. If I were to tell you, yeah, you can keep Arden Key, but you got to cut Jamal Agnew, would you do it? Yeah, you can keep Jawan Taylor, but it's going to cost you Roy Robertson Harris and possibly Rayshon Jenkins. Would you do it? I don't know. I think people were going to be upset either way. They could not keep anybody. They could not keep everybody. That was an impossibility based on the way their cap was. And when Kansas City offered Jawan Taylor $20 million per and $60 million guaranteed, well, that was a done deal. That was never going to happen. Absolutely never going to happen. But at the end of the day, 21 of the 22 guys that started that game at Arrowhead will be back with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And that was that given game. I'm not even counting Cam Robinson, who was injured. I'm not counting Ben Barch, who was injured. And I'm not counting Calvin Ridley, who was not reinstated. So when you took the field at Arrowhead 60 days ago, those 22 starters out there, 21 of them will be back in Jacksonville. Throw back in Cam Robinson into the fold. Throw back in Ben Barch into the fold. Throw in Calvin Ridley into the fold. Are you worse off? I don't think you are. I don't know how much better you've gotten, but I don't think you're any worse off. It all is going to come down to two things. Is Walker Little the guy that obviously the Jaguars believe he is? And can you find 4.5 sacks to replace Arden Key? Because nothing against Chris Manhertz, but I think he's replaceable. You just got to find another blocking tight end. He was good at what he did. Again, this is not an anti-Chris Manhertz sentiment, but losing Manhertz is not going to affect the 2023 campaign. Losing Jawan Taylor potentially could if Walker Little's not that guy, but they obviously believe he is that guy. Losing Arden Key, again, you did not lose Tony Brackens. You did not lose Joel Schminge with Arden Key. You lost a guy that was here for 9 months and hit the quarterback 15 times, recorded 4.5 quarterback sacks, and made 26 tackles. But you do need to replace that guy. To this point, they have not replaced Arden Key, but keep in mind, Arden Key signed in Jacksonville on March the 30th of 2022. What is that, the third wave of free agency? The fourth wave? He was 3 weeks after Christian Kirk and Brandon Sheriff and Zay Jones and Evan Ingram and Oluwaka and Fatukasi, all those guys. After they all signed, the Jaguars 3 weeks later signed Arden Key. Why can't they do it again? Why not at the end of March, in a week and a half, 2 weeks from now, they sign another 26-year-old journeyman that can come in here and give you the exact same thing that Arden Key gave you in 2022. I think they could do it. I think they will do it. I think they're going to sign another pass rushing type before the draft next month. 641-1010 is the phone number, Jacksonville. If you want to get involved on the phone line or on the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures, you are more than welcome to do so. Again, it's an early edition of Hacker After Dark. We're in for Rick Ballou tonight with you until 8 o'clock. Coming up next, my friend Dalton Miller, Pro Football Network. Pro Football Network, PFN, is a website that is getting bigger and bigger and bigger as the days and weeks and months go by. I really enjoy what they do over at Pro Football Network. Dalton Miller is a big, big part of that. He's one of our guys here on Hacker After Dark, and we're going to talk Jaguars, the rest of the AFC South, and look big picture into the National Football League with him coming up next. With Dylan Denmark, the Hacker Ryan Green with you on a Wednesday evening in Jacksonville, Florida. We're glad you're with us on Hacker After Dark here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
He's not a night owl, but he does come out at night.
Terrifying!
Hacker After Dark. All the sports talk and hot topics you need to know about. Live and local, even late night. After Rick Ballou, evenings on 1010XL.
Attention car buyers, you in the market for a new vehicle? Are you noticing the markup on vehicles on dealers' lots? Well, not the case at Key Buick GMC. We never have markups on our vehicles. Come in today and ask for Derek or Steve. As always, the lifetime powertrain warranty in effect whenever you purchase a brand new vehicle from Key Buick GMC. We are professional grade on the corner of Southside and Gate, or visit our website, keybuickgmc.com.
It's time to play Fix That Plumbing Problem. What do you do if you have a clogged drain? Contestant 1?
Use a different drain?
No, that doesn't really fix the problem. Contestant 2? That's right. Just call the duck.
Don't let plumbing problems linger. Call the pros at Duck Duck Rooter. Commercial, residential, any plumbing issue or project.
When you're stuck, call the duck. 904-862-6769.
Hey Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
Marching into the 100-year lifestyle with Dr. Alan Nathans and Disc Centers of America. Hicken here to celebrate the grand reopening of Nathan's Family Chiropractic. The drill is going on the road to see the pro in the know, Dr. Nathans. Come see us Friday, March 31st at Disc Centers of America at Bay Meadows. And make sure you register to win all kinds of prizes at drnathans.com. We're now living longer than ever. Dr. Nathans can make sure your next years are your best years. Register to win at drnathans.com.
It's the blog players put their pads on for.
So we won, we got to bring it.
My thoughts and observations on our home team. That's what I share with you every week on my blog.
Roland Reach Plumbing brings you Hayes Blog on 1010XL.com.
This Friday, Navy Mutual would like to salute all Medal of Honor recipients that have been awarded our nation's highest award. In 1990, Congress designated March 25th as National Medal of Honor Day, and it was signed into law by President George H.W. Bush.
Committed to the mission. At Navy Mutual, we're committed to providing high-quality life insurance to members of the military and their families. Because at Navy Mutual, our highest commitment is to you. Visit NavyMutual.org.
Men, if you're struggling with erectile dysfunction or PE and frustrated taking pills that don't work, Prime Men's Medical Center offers breakthrough medical treatments that effectively treat your problem. 98% of patients experience immediate results during their first office visit. And for a limited time, your initial consultation and first treatment are completely free. Listen to a specialist in men's health.
I'm Dr. Rubinsky. The physicians at Prime Men's Medical Center offer the most advanced treatments that eliminate ED and PE. Now men are lasting 30, 60, 90 minutes or longer, regardless of age or medical history.
Guys, to eliminate your frustration in the bedroom, call Prime Men's Medical Center now to take advantage of this exclusive limited-time offer. Your initial consultation and first treatment are totally free, and you'll see instant results right in the office. Call now, 904-664-8217. 904-664-8217. That's 904-664-8217.
What Major League Baseball player has drawn the most walks during his career? The answer next.
How long has it been since you compared homeowners' insurance rates? Log on to southernoak.com to get an instant quote or find an agent near you.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
Barry Bonds holds the record for most career walks, being given first base over 2,500 times.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
Northeast Florida's highest-rated residential home electrical contractor is American Electrical, providing unsurpassed quality in Duval, St. Johns, Clay, and Nassau counties. No matter your electrical problem or project, large or small, American Electrical will get it done at a price that's right. High-quality electrician, that's who they are. Trusted company that's been on the First Coast for decades, proudly serving the community while being a big part of the community. Call American Electrical for all your electric needs at 737-7770. Wired right at a fair price.
Life is about choices and the decisions you make. I'm David Robbins with Epstein & Robbins. If you're convicted of a DUI, you'll have to face severe consequences. Walking through the doors of the courthouse or appearing at a bond hearing can be extremely intimidating. Without the right lawyer, you're likely to make the wrong decision. Let our team help you make the right decisions in court. Epstein & Robbins, the right choice.
Epstein & Robbins, fighting for your rights since 1975.
Osprey fans, UNF Giving Day is today. Make a difference in UNF students' lives by supporting your favorite UNF cause. Every bit counts. Swoop and support the Ospreys. Visit givingday.unf.edu or call 620-GIVE.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL. Now, hello. Another great guest on the Farah and Farah phone line. Brought to you by the Accident Attorneys at Farah and Farah.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The second wave of NFL free agency ongoing, and much like last week, not a whole lot is happening here in Jacksonville, at least bringing outside players in. Jacksonville and I believe Baltimore are the only two franchises as of right now that have yet to sign an outside free agent, but that doesn't mean it's all bad here in Jacksonville. Let's look at the Jags, look around the rest of the AFC South and the big NFL storylines with our friend Dalton Miller. You catch him on Pro Football Network, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Dalton, how you doing?
Fantastic. And I think the Dallas Cowboys have also not signed anybody from outside of their own organization, but they obviously have traded for two veterans. So it's, a technicality there.
Yeah, with Stephon Gilmore and now Brandon Cooks. And you mentioned Dallas, and that kind of ties into a Jacksonville point of view. Evan Ingram gets franchised at the tight end position, Dalton. And Dalton Schultz and Mike Gesicki, who were franchised a year ago, have to settle for 1-year deals with both New England and Houston, respectfully. So, boy, if I'm Evan Ingram, I might be sprinting to Jacksonville, Florida to sign that franchise tender. What happened to the tight end market this year?
It just fell back down to where it should be. When you look at the position as a whole, who are the true difference makers in the NFL at the position? There are 3, maybe 4 of them who are legitimate monsters. And one of those was Darren Waller. And Darren Waller just hasn't really been able to stay healthy, so he hasn't been able to show it the past couple of seasons. So I think that the market is just back down to where it should be. The tight end position is incredibly difficult to play at the NFL level. You have wide receivers who, day in, day out, all of their practice time, all of their training is to route guys up, to catch the football. Offensive linemen, day in, day out, working on their footwork, working on their hand fighting. They are professionals at what they do. And tight ends have to be professionals at 2 positions. And all that makes them, at the end of the day, is a master of none. So unless you have a guy like Mike Gesicki, a guy like Kyle Pitts, who you're really just going to use on the outside, it's incredibly difficult to be a high-level player at that position. A guy like Evan Ingram, a guy who's going to play outside, a guy who is kind of built like a big wide receiver. I mean, when you look at Evan Ingram and you look at Allen Lazard, they're pretty much the same build, except Evan Ingram is more athletic than Allen Lazard is. One of them is a wide receiver and one of them is a tight end. And the only difference is a nomenclature. And it's really the only difference. So I think if I'm Evan Ingram, you're running, you're signing that franchise tender, and then you are trying to figure out a way to make some money this season, because I think he's going to have, an opportunity to have an even more productive year with Calvin Ridley coming back and being reinstated. And I think then you can kind of look at a long-term deal. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think it was just the market correcting itself.
Dalton Miller, Pro Football Network, here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Yeah, we're referring to the Schultz deal in Houston and the Gesicki deal in New England as the Evan Ingram deals. They're going to try to do what Ingram did last year, and hopefully it works out financially for him in 2024. You mentioned Evan Ingram and Calvin Ridley, Dalton. Let's go there now. The addition of Ridley, Ingram back in the fold to go with Kirk and Jones and Etienne, obviously Lawrence. I mean, how good could this Jaguar offense be this year?
It can be amazing if Walker Little can play right tackle. And, I had my issues with Walker Little coming out of Stanford. I didn't think that he was as good as his draft stock, his narrative made him out to be. But he was a high ceiling player, somebody who could develop into a really good offensive tackle at the NFL level. We kind of thought that he might be a left tackle. It looks like he will be a right tackle for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And if he can develop into a player, you're looking at an offense that can really be without flaw. You have Travis Etienne, who might not be a, down in, down out guy at the NFL level, somebody who's going to grind out 3-4 yard runs, 25 times a game. But I think he brings something that NFL teams are kind of moving towards when it comes to the running back position, and that is the ability to create explosive plays. Travis Etienne is one of the most explosive runners through the hole in the entire NFL. His explosiveness, his acceleration is really kind of unmatched at the NFL level. I don't know many guys who can just absolutely delete an angle between the tackles the way that he is able to if he has a runway. You have a decent offensive line already with Cam Robinson. I think that they could probably look to upgrade from Ben Barch at left tackle. But Fortner, Scherf, if Little works out, that's a pretty good offensive line. You have, arguably the most talented young quarterback in the NFL, and it depends on, what you look at as young. But, a guy going into his third season, I don't think that you can really look at a guy, elsewhere in the league and think that you have a better spot at quarterback. So I think they're going to do everything they can to maximize his rookie deal window. And I think that they're doing a good job with it, even with some of the inactivity in free agency.
A couple of more for Dalton Miller. He covers the National Football League for Pro Football Network, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Dalton, I saw one of your posts on social media talking about the Tennessee Titans and their offseason. They did sign Arden Key, former Jaguar, and Arden Key met the media in Nashville yesterday and kind of ran his mouth a little bit about the disrespect card, and he's happy he gets to play the Jaguars twice. My advice to Arden is be careful what you wish for in that department, because you don't have Trevor Lawrence as your quarterback anymore. But nevertheless, I think you, not to put words in your mouth, but based on your post, I think you might be a little critical of what Tennessee has done this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, not just this offseason, but how they've kind of ran their franchise the past couple of seasons. Listen, there's a reason why John Robinson was fired. That offense completely fell off a cliff. Their offensive line is atrocious. Paying Andre Dillon $10 million a year for what? I don't know. He has not been good for Philadelphia, even when he has gotten the opportunity to play. He hasn't gotten the opportunity a lot because Jordan Mailata was better than him. And Lane Johnson was on the other side of the football, so it's not like he could start on the right side either. But the entire front line is a question mark. Daniel Brunskill is just an okay player. Aaron Brewer is not very good. Dylan Radins is a complete question mark at right guard. and Nicholas Petit-Frere is new. They really just don't have anybody on the front line. It's not a good offensive line, and they're a team that is built like they're a 1992 team trying to run the ball 30 times a game with Derrick Henry. It's just not a good recipe for success offensively. We don't know what's going to happen with Ryan Tannehill. The best thing that they could probably do is blow the entire thing up. The problem is they have some talent on the defensive side of the ball. Danico Autry is a good pass rusher. Harold Landry is a fantastic pass rusher. Jeffrey Simmons is one of the best defensive tackles in the entire NFL. Naquan Jones is a good nose tackle. They were just unable to stay healthy last year. They're going to probably have a pretty good defense this year. Obviously, they brought in Arden Key, but they just don't have the offense that I think can challenge, not just the rest of the AFC South, but anybody in the AFC in particular. I just don't think that they can compete with that conference at all.
Do you expect Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill to still be in Nashville when training camp opens?
I expect Derrick Henry to be there. I don't know what's going to happen with Ryan Tannehill. Now, if they go out and somehow get Lamar Jackson, all of this changes because Lamar Jackson is one of the few guys in the entire NFL who can legitimately put a team on his back when he is healthy. Obviously, remaining healthy has been a problem for him the past couple of seasons, but that is, obviously far from a guarantee. Ryan Tannehill just doesn't really move the needle for you. He's somebody who needs play action to work for him to kind of be successful, and they don't have the receivers to do the job either. Treylon Burks flashed as a rookie, but Kyle Phillips, also flashed as a rookie, but he doesn't have the high end, physical ability that you look at as a high end number 2 guy. And they have nobody behind them, so I think that they're going to struggle this year.
Final moments here with Dalton Miller of Pro Football Network. The other two teams in the division, Dalton, new head coaches for both teams, but the interesting thing is with both Houston and Indianapolis, they're going to have first-year head coaches, and they're going to have rookie quarterbacks. Your thoughts on what the Texans and the Colts have done to this point?
Yeah, I really like what the Texans have done so far. They had so far to go. They were never going to be able to flip the roster and become contenders this season. I like what they've done so far. I really like that DeMeco Ryans brought in Jimmy Ward. I think with the lack of playing or lack of practice time in the NFL these days because of the CBA, it's what the players wanted. They wanted less practice time. There's not as much time on task. So bringing in a veteran like that to teach the defense in their spare time to the rest of the defenders on the team that are going to be new to it, especially because they have so many young defenders in the secondary, I think is going to be huge for that Texans defense this year. Then similarly, on the offensive side of the ball for the Colts, bringing in Gardner Minshew is huge because he will be able to, in the offseason, before all of the team activities start, sit down with the rookie quarterback with the playbook and start to teach him. And I think, obviously he doesn't move the needle as a starter, even if they don't want to start a rookie right away. Bringing him in as that veteran presence as somebody who understands that offense inside and out, I think is really interesting. And I just think it's really interesting to see what kind of quarterback Shane Steichen is going to want to bring into the organization, even if he has a choice, because obviously they're picking at 4 and might not have their pick of the litter. I think it's going to be interesting because he's had so many different quarterback types over the course of his career as an offensive guy. So it will be interesting to see what happens there. I just don't think that either team is going to be ready to compete in year 1 against Jacksonville.
Dalton, there seems to be a lot of Anthony Richardson chatter when it comes to Indianapolis. Do you buy into that?
It's a good fit. I can see it happening, obviously, because he just had Jalen Hurts. His offense is very vertically centered when it comes to the passing attack. Obviously, Anthony Richardson has a massive arm. He'll use the RPO game quite a bit as well. And they kind of have big physical receivers to take advantage of that. But I just kind of think at the end of the day, when you look at Steichen as well, I think that somebody like Bryce Young would be a fantastic fit in his offense as well. Somebody who is really heady, really quick with the way that he processes the field. Even though he's short, he sees the middle of the field well. You've seen him have success with guys like Justin Herbert in the past. So I think somebody who is good over the middle of the field, somebody who is quick-witted, is a good fit for him as well. We're just going to kind of have to wait and see on how the board falls, see, who the Texans take. And I think no matter what, you are probably looking at a duo of Anthony Richardson and Bryce Young, whether it be the Texans or the Colts when it comes to the AFC South. So I think Jacksonville's kind of stuck with both of those guys no matter what.
Dalton, as we say goodbye, rapid fire, is Lamar Jackson going to be a Baltimore Raven in 2 months?
I think he will be, yes.
And what is the holdup in New York with Aaron Rodgers, to your knowledge?
I think that it's just two parents fighting over a child in divorce. It's all about compensation. The Green Bay Packers want more compensation than they know that they can get from the Jets, and the Jets want a good deal like they got with Brett Favre. And I think they're going to have to meet in the middle.
Dalton, give yourself a little bit of love. Pro Football Network, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville what they can expect when they head on over to the website.
Yeah, we're crushing the off-season content. We're crushing the free agency content, and we have really started to put way more video content out on YouTube, on Twitch, on Instagram, on Facebook. We're getting into Snapchat as well with video. Video is going to be taking off at Pro Football Network, so make sure you check that out. You can also check me out at Dalton B. Miller on pretty much every social media platform.
Dalton Miller covering the National Football League for Pro Football Network. He does a terrific job, and that's why we love having him on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Dalton, know you're busy, brother. Always appreciate the time. We'll talk again soon.
Hey, thanks for having me.
There you go, Dalton Miller, Pro Football Network. And it's interesting when you hear Indianapolis, Houston, obviously Houston picking second, Indianapolis picking fourth. A lot of mock drafts certainly have them taking quarterbacks. I thought it was particularly interesting that Mel Kiper Jr. yesterday had Houston going with, I believe, Bryce Young at 2, Indianapolis trading up from 4 to 3, not to take Anthony Richardson, but to take Will Levis, the quarterback from Kentucky. But I think any way you slice it, Jacksonville, with the Texans and the Colts both in the top 5, they're both going to draft quarterbacks, which you would think in today's day and age means not only are you going to have 2 first-year head coaches in the division, DeMeco Ryans in Houston, Shane Steichen in Indianapolis, you will likely have 2 rookie starting quarterbacks in the division. The only caveat to that would be Gardner Minshew in Indianapolis. Could Indy draft a Will Levis or an Anthony Richardson and have them sit behind Gardner Minshew for a little bit while they learn the NFL game? I don't see that at all happening in Houston. I think if it's Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud, that's the Texans starter from opening day. Potentially in Indianapolis, I could see them going with Gardner for a little bit until their rookie is ready to go. So you would not expect much, I wouldn't think, out of the Colts or the Texans this year with rookie quarterbacks and first-year head coaches. You see what Tennessee's doing and the shambles they appear to be in. Are they going to rebuild? Are they trying to retool? Even their media doesn't really know. And then there's Jacksonville. Jacksonville seems to be in a very, very good spot when it comes to the division. And how do you get to the Super Bowl? You got to win your division, right? If you win your division, you're guaranteed at least one home playoff game. And if you win that home playoff game, you're in the Final Four of the conference playoffs. So winning the division, as Jacksonville found out last year, is certainly the first step into getting to that big game. With Dylan Denmark, the Hacker Ryan Green with you, an early edition of Hacker After Dark. We are in for Rick Ballou tonight here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. I mentioned the AFC Power Ranking list. Our friend Jordan Dejani of CBSSports.com did this last night. The post-free agency, or I guess the post-big wave of free agency, power ranking list in the AFC. He ranked them 1 to 16. I did not like where he had the Jacksonville Jaguars. We'll talk about that next on Hacker After Dark.
There's an energy and drama to play-by-play sports.
This crowd, a big factor.
You never know what's going to happen.
Wow!
Feel the energy on 1010XL. Jacksonville Sports Radio.
Why does everyone seem to hesitate to buy a used car these days? Probably because the warranties stink. Well, we only offer the best cars that can pass a 160-point inspection and qualify for the Beaver Certified program with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. You mean just Chevys and Toyotas, right? Nope, all of them. Nissans? Yep. Fords? That's right. Hondas? You bet. What about all All of them. And if you want to see all of them, come see us at Beaver Toyota in St. Augustine or Beaver Chevrolet in Jacksonville.
Colorectal cancer is the third most common cancer in men and women. March is Colorectal Awareness Month, and if you're over age 45, get screened for any signs and symptoms. Visit Ackerman Cancer Center where their experts can see you same or next day at AckermanCancerCenter.com.
Golfers, tee it up at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the hottest new arrivals from Titleist. Check out the new Pro V1 golf balls, designed for longer distance, more consistency, and unrivaled control. Swing by Edwin Watts Golf Shops and elevate your game with the new TSR Woods, engineered faster, longer, and straighter. Come in and get custom fit for free today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee, unmatched service, unmatched expertise.
If you like live music, fun activities, and sipping your favorite drink at a tiki bar, you don't have to travel far or break the bank to make it happen. Island Oaks RV Resort is just past McClenny off of exit 333, offering all of this. Visit islandoaksrvresort.com to book your stay.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On March 22nd, 1958, and the 20th NCAA Men's Basketball Championship, Kentucky beat Seattle 84-72. Future Hall of Famer Elgin Baylor is named MVP.
So we bid farewell to Goldie the goldfish as she journeys to that big pond in the sky. Amen.
She's still there, Dad.
What?
Goldie's still there, Dad.
Because Dad didn't have Roland Reese Plumbing clean the drains and sewer lines, this little pet funeral is going to take a long time.
All right, we therefore send our Goldie once again to the appropriate place.
She's still there.
For this and all of your plumbing needs, 24 hours a day, call Roland Reese Plumbing at 260-7059 or click plumberinjacks.com.
Serving the First Coast for over 20 years, Instant Keys offers honest, professional locksmith service for the replacement of lost, stolen, or broken keys and remotes. Get dealer-level service at a fraction of the time and cost. Call Instant Keys, 722-1111.
Now is the best time to visit CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living. With any new outdoor kitchen purchase, you can receive a Gosney Rockbox pizza oven for free. Only until April 20th. You dream it, they build it at CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living.
1, 2, 3, 4!
In 1964, the Beatles invaded America.
Well, she was just 17.
Now, the #1 Beatles tribute band storms Thrasher Horn Center April 13th.
She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Come experience the magic of the Beatles with 1964. Get tickets at thcenter.org. 1964 The Tribute is not endorsed or affiliated with Apple Corp. Limited.
Sports fans, this is David Garrard here. And if you're suffering from orthopedic soreness, make an appointment at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, where everyone is treated like a pro.
This is Dr. Kevin Murphy with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, where athletes are treated like pros. Thanks to all of you who have allowed us to be part of your recovery. Call us at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists if you ever have a need.
Relieve pain and get back to life. SOS. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
So I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, Director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 5-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $30,000 a year, and right now graduate making over $80,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition and no student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted into the program, your only costs are the books and the course fees, around $700 a year.
Wow, that sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org.
Apply by May 18th.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. This is Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Yes, it is. Early edition of Hacker After Dark. In for Blue tonight here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark, the hacker Ryan Green with you. As always, Jacksonville, we are streaming for your viewing pleasure on Twitter and on YouTube when you get home this evening. If you want to watch the show, you can do so. Go to 1010XL on YouTube. You'll see Hacker After Dark there until 8 o'clock tonight. Likewise on Twitter, at 1010XL on Twitter. You'll see the show there streaming live until 8 o'clock this evening. So I brought this up earlier. So our friends at CBSSports.com, they do this, periodically during the NFL offseason. They put together a power ranking list in the American Football Conference after free agency before the draft. So obviously there is still a lot yet to transpire. But as we sit here on the 22nd day of March, what do the AFC power rankings look like? And what I brought up earlier should be great news for you Jaguar fans, which I'm assuming if you're listening to 1010XL would be an overwhelming majority of you. Right now, CBS Sports in the bottom quarter of their power rankings, they say the Houston Texans are the worst team in the AFC. They come in ranked number 16. The Indianapolis Colts are the second worst team in the AFC. They came in at number 15. And the Tennessee Titans are the fourth worst team in the AFC. They came in at number 13. Translation, the AFC South, according to CBS Sports, right now is the worst division in football. By the way, the Las Vegas Raiders came in at number 14. Let me round out the rest of the list. I'll tell you where Jacksonville is in a moment. Number 12, they have the New England Patriots. 11, the Pittsburgh Steelers. As we get into the top 10. Number 10, Cleveland. Number 9, Denver. Denver did an awful lot in free agency. They came in at number 9 on this power ranking list. Number 8, the Baltimore Ravens. Now, when we get into the top 7, keep in mind, 7 teams make the AFC playoffs. So what CBS is saying is these 7 teams right now, in their opinion, would be the 7 teams most likely to make the playoffs. Number 7, the Los Angeles Chargers. Number 6, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I do not agree with that. More on that in a moment. Your top 5, Miami. Then you go to Buffalo, the New York Jets, and they put the caveat, assuming they get Aaron Rodgers, they have the New York Jets at 3. That is, that's nonsense to me. Number 2, Cincinnati, and of course, number 1 is Kansas City. All right, let's take a look at these kind of one by one. Is in regards to Jacksonville and where Jacksonville is in the tiers of the American Football Conference. They're not Kansas City. All right, I'm not going to even make that argument. Kansas City on paper, clearly better. Kansas City 60 days ago beat Jacksonville when 37-year-old Chad Henne played about a quarter of that game. So there's not a Jaguar fan listening right now that I think could make a realistic argument that Jacksonville is better than Kansas City. We're not better than Kansas City. I have no problem with that. Cincinnati at number 2, I would have Cincinnati over Jacksonville. I don't have teal and black blinders on. I think Jacksonville is going to be very good in 2023, but I don't think they're Cincinnati. That Cincinnati offense is ridiculous, man. When you can throw out there Joe Burrow and he's throwing to not only Jamar Chase, but T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, we'll see what his future holds there in Cincinnati. Their defense was good enough to, again, get them to the AFC championship game for the second year in a row. It would be hard for me to make the argument that Jacksonville is better than Cincinnati. I don't believe we are. But then you get to number 3. And this is where I think a conversation can start being had about where Jacksonville is in the conference. I'm sorry, all right? This is not 2012. This is not 2017. This isn't even 2020. This will be 2023's version of Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers, it was proven pretty distinctly last year, you take Devontae Adams away from him, it's a different offense there in Green Bay. Now, I understand he has Garrett Wilson, and I understand they just signed Mecole Hardman today from Kansas City. They got some nice pieces on that Jet offense, but CBS is honestly going to sit there and tell us that the addition of Aaron Rodgers makes the New York Jets the 3rd best team in the AFC, a team that did not even make the postseason last year. No. I think they're way too high. And if I were to be given the option right now, even with Aaron Rodgers in New York, of taking Jacksonville or the Jets, I am taking Jacksonville in that. And if you think I'm wrong, all right. I'd love to hear from you on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. But I just think Jacksonville, even with Aaron Rodgers, is a better football team than New York is. Number 4, the Buffalo Bills. All right, Buffalo is a team, to me, their window of opportunity was wide open the last 3 years. Wide open. And then they paid Josh Allen, right? And you see what we're going to have to deal with here in Jacksonville in a very short amount of time. When you pay the quarterback, you're going to have to start making some tough choices. And Buffalo has been doing that. They've lost Devin Singletary. They've lost Jermaine Edmonds. They're starting to lose pieces of their team, what made them so good. I still think they're a good team. I would probably still have them as the favorite in the AFC East. But in relation to Jacksonville, is Buffalo head and shoulders better than Jacksonville? No, they're not. No, I'm not sitting here telling you Jacksonville is head and shoulders better than Buffalo. But I think if those teams play 10 times, I think each team might win 5 of them. And we're going to see this year, by the way, Buffalo and Jacksonville get together. I think Jacksonville goes up to the state of New York to play the Buffalo Bills, which should be a lot of fun. Number 5, Miami. Look, Miami has had a great offseason. I mean, you add Jalen Ramsey, you add David Long, you add some nice pieces on that defense. You bring in Vic Fangio as your defensive coordinator. They've done some things on offense. I mean, obviously, they got Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. But the question with Miami will continue to be, until he either proves it or until they move on, can Tua stay healthy? If Tua is healthy, the Miami Dolphins are a good football team. Borderline, really good football team. If Tua is not healthy, they're as average as the day is long. Is Miami a better football team than Jacksonville right now? I don't know. I would tend to not think that's the case. I would have Jacksonville above the Miami Dolphins. And then Jacksonville comes in at number 6. Behind Miami, New York, and Buffalo. And I just don't think that if Jacksonville was moved into the AFC East, they're saying Jacksonville would be the 4th best team right now in that division. No way. No way, no how. Again, like we said earlier, when the Jaguars walked off the field at Arrowhead, a hard-fought 27-20 loss 60 days ago to the ultimate world champion Kansas City Chiefs, 21 of the 22 guys for the Jacksonville Jaguars that started that game 60 days ago will be back in the fold, will be here in Jacksonville in 2023. The only starter that will not be here is Jawan Taylor. Chris Manhertz did not start. Arden Key did not start. 21 of the 22, and that doesn't even take into account Calvin Ridley being reinstated, Ben Bartch coming back from injury, Cam Robinson coming back from injury. When you add Bartch, Ridley, and Robinson to those 21 starters that walked off that field at Arrowhead that are still here, I think the Jaguars might be better than they were 60 days ago, which is an amazing accomplishment, seeing as how until the last 4 hours, they had not brought in one single free agent. They did sign 3 guys today, including Dearness Johnson, former running back of the Cleveland Browns, didn't do anything in 2022. 2021, rushed for over 500 yards on only 100 carries, so he averaged over 5 yards a carry. A couple of other interior defensive linemen were signed today as well by the Jaguars. That includes Michael Dogby from Arizona, and I believe Henry Mondu from the New York Giants. So we'll talk about those guys again. 3 new Jacksonville Jaguars added to the fold. I also want to get into a little draft talk. I want to talk also a little Anthony Richardson and a little Ventrell Miller. You know, it's interesting. Graham Marsh and I just recorded another edition of the Gator Bites podcast. You can check it out on 1010XL.com tomorrow. It's actually on the Florida Gator 1010XL Facebook page right now. As much as Gator fans are talking about losing Anthony Richardson, which obviously is a huge loss, losing Ventrell Miller on the defensive side of the ball, the leader, the heart and soul of that defense, he will be tough to replace as well. I'm very curious about Ventrell Miller. What kind of NFL player will he be? Will he be given a chance to be a 3-down linebacker? Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network, who does a terrific job on that website, he had a sit-down conversation with Ventrell Miller a couple of days ago. I want to talk to Ryan Fowler about that conversation with Ventrell Miller. Also, we're going to talk a little Anthony Richardson, and certainly we're going to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars and the 24th pick there in round number 1. 1 hour down, 1 hour to go, Jacksonville. We are with you until 8 o'clock tonight. We are glad you're with us. An early edition of Hacker After Dark. In for Rick Ballou, Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network. Coming up next, right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Hey, this is former Jaguar Paul Spicer.
Hi, I'm Mark Brunell.
I'm Josh Scobie, and you're listening to 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Ballou here for Smunez Vision. Why Smunez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smunez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smunez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smunez is fellowship-trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmunezVision.com today. Care you can see.
This NFL free agency profile is brought to you by J. David Tax Law. Peace of mind is only a click or phone call away.
The Jaguars re-signed Andrew Dewey Winger to a 3-year, $9.6 million contract with a chance to make up to $13.8 million. His biggest contributions, though, have come on all 4 phases of special teams, something he had never played until he arrived in Jacksonville. Now, Wingard is set to become the highest-paid core special teamer in the National Football League.
The IRS has just received $80 billion in funding to hire additional agents for aggressive collections enforcement. If you owe the IRS, now is the time to take action before the IRS comes after you or your business. There's no time to waste. Call J. David Tax Law, a firm right here in Jacksonville, for a no-cost consultation at 904-507-4777. That's 904-507-4777. Or visit jdavidtaxlaw.com. Peace of mind is only a click or phone call away.
Are you suffering from shoulder pain? If you have clicking and popping in the shoulder joint, persistent pain that intensifies with use, an inability to lift your arm over your head, or a tingling, burning sensation in the shoulder, elbow, or wrist, waiting to see a doctor could make your injury worse. Baptist Health and Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute have innovative and effective treatment options available right now to relieve your pain and restore your mobility. Don't wait. Call 904-JOI-2000.
Does your home or building need painting? For over 20 years, Performance Painting has had the privilege of preserving many of Jacksonville's most prominent buildings. That said, we feel like we're just getting started. I'm Jason Parker, and our team thrives on preparing, protecting, and preserving the homes, businesses, and public buildings that make up our local landscape. Contact us today to put our years of experience to work for you. Performance Painting. Prepare, protect, preserve.
Performance Painting.
WJXL-FM, Jacksonville Beach.
Men, if you're struggling with erectile dysfunction or PE and frustrated taking pills that don't work, Prime Men's Medical Center offers breakthrough medical treatments that effectively treat your problem. 98% of patients experience immediate results during their first office visit. And for a limited time, your initial consultation and first treatment are completely free. Listen to a specialist in men's health.
I'm Dr. Rubinski. The physicians at Prime Men's Medical Center offer the most advanced treatments that eliminate ED and PE. Now men are lasting 30, 60, 90 minutes or longer, regardless of age or medical history.
Guys, to eliminate your frustration in the bedroom, call Prime Men's Medical Center now to take advantage of this exclusive limited-time offer. Your initial consultation and first treatment are totally free, and you'll see instant results right in the office. Call now, 904-664-8217. 904-664-8217. That's 904-664-8217.
Hey sports fans, this is Hayes Carlian from MyBookie. March Madness has officially begun. It's time for you to shoot your shot and score big on the nonstop action with MyBookie. Whether you're filling out multiple brackets, betting on the eventual national championship winner, or simply looking for player and game props, MyBookie has you covered. Getting started with MyBookie is simple. Visit the website online, make your first deposit, use promo code 1010XL to claim an exclusive deposit bonus. You don't want to miss out on this. This is one of the most exciting sporting events of the year. You've got to have some action on this thing. Again, promo code 1010XL to claim some extra money on top of your initial deposit. With hundreds of thousands in prizes for March Madness and weekly blackjack tournaments, you can turn your game day into a payday with MyBookie. And they have everything. Bet on the Jags, whatever you want. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie.
Our country was founded on the principles of freedom and justice for all. Providing access to the courts is a basic right that all Floridians expect to enjoy. It's the way our society can resolve disputes in a peaceful way. The right is under attack by big insurance companies and corporate executives. They want to strip these fundamental rights with a new law that would shut the courthouse doors to all Floridians. I'm Mark Anajar with Anajar and Levine, and I'm asking you to tell your lawmakers to oppose House Bill 837 and Senate Bill 236. Keep Florida free.
The month of madness.
3 seconds. 2 seconds.
Listen for March moments all month long on 1010XL.
And it's over!
Brought to you by Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing and Septic Services.
Pulls off the upset!
On 1010XL. This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL. Now, hello. Another great guest on the Farah and Farah phone line. Brought to you by the Accident Attorneys at Farah and Farah.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. The first wave of NFL free agency is in the books. The Jaguars actually report back to work in less than a month for the offseason conditioning program, and the NFL draft is just a little over a month away. With that, let me welcome in my friend Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network. He's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Ryan, how we doing?
I'm good, Ryan. Always appreciate you having me on.
Hey, Ryan, thank you for the time. I certainly want to get in to the Jaguars, look around the NFL as well. But you, last week, released an interesting piece on the draftnetwork.com where you had to sit down with Gator linebacker Ventrell Miller, clearly the leader of that Gator defense last year. You said you really enjoyed speaking to Ventrell.
Yeah, I did. I was impressed. And the thing with Ventrell is I would have liked to see him down at the Senior Bowl compete, just specifically because he offers a little bit of a throwback style of football at the second level. And I think you look across the league now and what teams have moved towards, and they want these hybrid guys that run 4.5, run 4.6. And there's been a knock on Ventrell's game that he isn't, quote unquote, fast, or he can't run. And I think that's misconstrued a little bit. I think he can run. Some GPS technologies that I've gotten from out of Florida is he's running 21, 22 miles per hour on the GPS. Now, that translates different to a football field when you got pads on, you're having to relocate and flip your hips and different things like that. But Ventrell is someone at the second level. If you're on day 2 or day 3 and you need some help within the lungs of your defense, he's somebody that is no problem filling in the A and B gaps. He's not going to be a guy right now, at least, in the early portions of his career, Ryan, that I see playing on all 3 downs. He's going to be an early down guy. Again, he's going to provide a punch in the run game, filling downhill, stacking and shedding an offensive lineman without issue, and wrangling ball carriers not just within the tackles, but also using that speed within the flat areas of the offense to create TFLs. And I think that's where he's going to make his money. So, again, he's not going to be somebody that's a 3-down backer, not the most athletic guy in the world, not extremely experienced in coverage, but he's got 5 years of work in the SEC under his belt. That matters if I'm an NFL evaluator. He's got the athleticism that I like at the second level, and he's someone that can cover with a plenty enough ability if I need him to. So along the fact of him being a good football player, he's an excellent individual, speaks extremely well, just a really flat-out good kid that if I'm a GM, and again, I need help with that second level, I'm going to take a flyer on Ventrell Miller.
Yeah, my thought on Ventrell Miller all the time was you can do the measurables and the 40-yard dash and all that stuff, and that matters. I'm not saying it doesn't. At the end of the day, Ventrell Miller is a football player, and he's a good football player at that. I'm curious, Ryan, in your experience covering the draft, when a guy is clearly the leader of a defense, which Ventrell Miller was clearly the leader, the vocal leader, the emotional leader of that defense, certainly what happens on the field matters the most. I'm not going to say it doesn't. But how much do teams take stuff like that into account?
A lot. I know specifically many teams from a character perspective too. Leadership matters. And the biggest thing is I know Ventrell's 24 years old as a rookie this year. He's going to be someone that comes into a locker room with grown men, and the transition is not going to be difficult for him. And if he has to come into a defense and wear the green dot and make the calls of the lungs of the defense, he's not going to have any issue doing that because, again, he's got 5 years of SEC experience in the middle of that Gators defense playing NFL talent every single week and every single day at practice as well, might I also mention. So teams value that a ton because you want guys in the building that are not just going to be able to lead with their play within the hashes, but also a voice in the locker room, because if he does go somewhere that's an inexperienced defense, someone to come in despite being a rookie, to have that experience in the SEC and a leader, not just with his play, but with his voice, it extremely matters to evaluation period.
Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network. Ryan, for Gator fans here in Jacksonville that want to check out that conversation you had with Ventrell Miller, what's the easiest way to do that? Go to thedraftnetwork.com?
Yep, draftnetwork.com, absolutely, yep.
Perfect. Ryan Fowler with us from the Draft Network. I have not talked to you since Ventrell Miller's teammate in Florida, Anthony Richardson, went to Indianapolis and went absolutely bonkers. Your thoughts on his performance at the Combine and what that did to his draft stock?
It was funny coming out of Indy because we knew he was going to test well, Ryan, but not historically well. And I think that's kind of the conversation coming out. People saying, oh, we know he's going to test well. No. Anthony Richardson was flat out unbelievable. He was almost Herculean in Indianapolis. How he ran, you look at how he looks, he's a tank. He looks like a linebacker, looks like a safety almost. It's just a super impressive young man. You hear him speak at his media session, just all around. I really hope, Ryan, bottom line, I want him to be in the right situation from day one, because the ceiling on this kid is as lofty as any quarterback in football. And I mean that, and I know I'm thinking about Patrick Mahomes as well. It's as lofty as any quarterback in the league right now. His talent, his God-given gifts are truly unbelievable to create with his arm, with his legs, and just the athletic profile that he presents. Now, he's got to obviously put it together in a certain situation, but you watch him in Indianapolis and you turn on the film in Florida, he was overwhelmingly impressive for me. Now, he wasn't the winner of the week at the quarterback spot. For me, that was C.J. Stroud, especially during the throwing portions of the drills. But for me, the biggest thing is tape holds weight. I know everyone's going to flack Anthony for this and that, not reading coverages and what they're doing pre-snap or what a safety's rolling to and reading his man in zone indicators. I don't think we give him enough credit for that. But you watch him in Indianapolis, you hear him speak, you learn who he is as an individual, the work ethic that he has to get better and better and better as the weeks and the years go on down the line, because, we got to be able to develop a guy as well. Anthony, I'm rooting for the kid, and I really hope that he reaches that performance ceiling because, again, as I mentioned earlier, it's as lofty as any quarterback in the league right now. It has been in some time.
Ryan, he looked pretty comfortable there on the field in Indianapolis. That brings me to the trade that Carolina made a couple of weeks ago to move up to number 1. Conventional thinking is Stroud, maybe Young, but probably Stroud at 1. Whoever doesn't go 1 between those two will go 2 to Houston. 3, maybe Will Anderson of Alabama to Arizona. And then that brings me to the Indianapolis Colts, who obviously the Jaguars see twice in the AFC South. And depending on who you talk to, rumors you hear, Shane Steichen came from Philadelphia where he had Jalen Hurts. It's not hard to connect the dots with Anthony Richardson. You combine that with they just signed Gardner Minshew in Indy, and Minshew and Richardson have a relationship because they've been working out together at a quarterback training facility here in Jacksonville. I mean, is it looking, in your opinion, like Anthony Richardson may go in the top 5 there at Indianapolis?
Yeah, I recently just released my first mock draft of the spring on our website last week, and Anthony was at 4 to the Colts. I think that is a perfect spot for him, not just because of the connections with Shane and obviously Gardner now coming in to be QB2 in that offense, but you look at the guys around him. And they have Jonathan Taylor, and they got guys on the outside and Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce. Now, I know they lost Paris Campbell, but that really doesn't move the needle for me too much anyway. But Anthony in Indianapolis with Shane is a perfect situation because of the connection and how Jalen Hurts improved in his first few years in Philadelphia with Shane in the building. And I think it's an absolutely fantastic spot. Would I be surprised if Anthony Richardson is the first quarterback off the board and the first overall pick to Carolina? I wouldn't be shocked, but from what I'm hearing around the league, it's going to be C.J. Stroud at 1. It's going to be Bryce Young at 2, which unless Arizona trades back and a team wants to come up and grab somebody, at 4 for the Colts, Anthony Richardson might fall into their lap, which would be a heck of a day for Chris Ballard and company.
Wow, let's turn to the Jaguars, but kind of stick here for a second. So assuming Bryce Young goes 2 to Houston, Anthony Richardson 4 to the Colts, that's 2 rookie quarterbacks in the top 5 coming into the AFC South. Of course, Jacksonville plays each of those teams twice. Are you of the opinion that Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson could be opening day starters for their given teams?
Absolutely. I think nowadays this is 2023, and I know we get spoiled with the names in the past, but you're drafting these guys to come in and be faces of the franchise, right? You're QB1. And you could talk to some people around the league that don't think Houston is the best environment, especially for Bryce or Anthony or CJ, whoever ends up there, to succeed because, again, the quarterback position, it's the most important in any sport, but it's also the position that correlates the most with what you got in your front 5, who's your tight ends, who's your receivers, and who you giving the ball off to. Now, Dameon Pierce is a heck of a running back down in Houston, but every situation matters. How it correlates matters. But you're taking a guy in top 5 picks in 2023 where you want the goal every single year. Bottom line, Ryan, is to win the Super Bowl. You don't draft guys to waste time and try to wait 3-4 years. There's rebuilds, of course. But teams exceed expectations every single year, and they don't meet expectations, and some teams stay neutral. But you're drafting a guy in the top 5, a face of the franchise, he's going to start day 1 for you.
Couple of more for Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network. Ryan, people here in Jacksonville have not been happy in free agency. I'm quick to remind them, if I were to tell you Evan Ingram's going to be back, Calvin Ridley will be reinstated a month ago, I think Jaguar fans would have been over the moon. But they did lose Jawan Taylor. They did lose Arden Key, which are their 2 big free agent departures. In your opinion, the losses of Taylor and Key, is that a big deal, or are Jaguar fans blowing that out of proportion?
I think they're 2 impact players. I think they're sorely going to be missed, especially because you look at the tackle depth with the Jaguars right now. Cam Robinson's okay. Walker Little, I actually liked coming out of Stanford. Arden Key, I wanted him to be back in Jacksonville, to be honest with you. I thought he was one of the more sleeper free agents in this class going to Tennessee. I think he's going to wreak some havoc for that front 7. But right now, the biggest thing for me with Jacksonville and their approach under Trent Baalke is staying put. And there's nothing wrong with that. And building the roster, young roster that you have already, keeping some guys in-house. Now, I know on the outside, Trey Herndon, he's not really going to move the needle at all for the corners room. You're going to probably add a guy or 2 in this year's deep corner class in the draft. But with Jawan and with Arden, for me, again, they're going to be impact players that you're going to miss. But there are guys in this draft, if you want to draft a guy on day 1 or day 2 at the tackle spot or at the edge spot, that you can go and get guys, again, every single day if you want to. So I wouldn't go crazy. I wouldn't get the pitchforks out and show up at Trent Baalke's house or anything like that. But the overall kind of approach right now with Jacksonville, kind of staying put, staying in-house, letting those guys walk, and potentially adding through the draft where you add young legs at each position, like they did last year specifically, I think it's a fine approach.
Yeah, Arden Key told the Nashville media today that he, quote, changed the city here in Jacksonville. I didn't know 4.5 sacks and 15 quarterback hits in 17 games could do that. But apparently Arden thinks he did change the city. Look, no disrespect to Arden Key, but he's not exactly Lawrence Taylor. That's what he kind of sounded like today at the press conference there in Nashville. All right, real quick on Walker Little. You studied him coming out of Stanford. Is it as simple as moving him to right tackle to replace Jawan Taylor? Can Walker Little play right tackle, Ryan, in your opinion?
I think he can. I really liked Walker coming out of Stanford. I really did. I think he's a big kid. I think he's got a great anchor. I think he's got good feet. Everything for me, especially the tackle spot with the edge rushers that you have to counter nowadays, and especially the edge rushers that they got coming off the edge in the AFC South. I think Walker could do that just absolutely fine. And I know moving into next year, they're going to give Travis Etienne even more carries and pumping that ground game to take some of the load off of Trevor Lawrence's shoulders a little bit, not asking him to throw it 35-plus times a game. Now, not saying you're not going to sling it around, because you are, but getting Walker, I feel comfortable here with him playing either side. I really do. I loved his game at Stanford, and I think someone coming out of the Pac-12 and out of that program, extremely cerebral athlete as well, whether he's protecting Trevor Lawrence's blind side or his arm side. I think he's fine. Is he a Trent Williams by any means? No, he's not. He's an average tackle, but with more snaps, I think he can get better and better and better. And I think he can progress into it in a nice piece down the road.
Final moments here with Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network. Ryan, as we look ahead to the Jaguars pick, as we wrap up here with you, the Jaguars pick 24. It's obviously hard to predict what they're going to do, but you can see the writing on the wall, right? You mentioned cornerback. That's certainly a need. I think offensive tackle is now a need because they need to essentially replace Walker Little. Little is still on the roster, but Little was that, quote, swing tackle last year. If Little is now the starter, you need a guy that's going to be your new swing tackle. So corner, I think, offensive tackle, give us some guys that might be around at 24 or at, I believe, 56 as they're picking round 2 that could make some sense for the Jaguars.
Yeah, corner, I love Cam Smith. We talked about him before, kid out of South Carolina, just a absolute alpha on the outside. Takes it personal if he loses a rep, which aren't many, but I love his game on the outside. That at 24 is an excellent option. Darnell Wright from Tennessee, tackle that protected the arm side for Hendon Hooker. You watch his tape against Alabama. That's kind of that teach tape, that spotlight tape that everyone wants to have that game. Him against Will Anderson, and watching him down at the Senior Bowl, again, everything starts with footwork and his ability to mirror and match edge rushers, whether he's facing a guy that's 270 pounds or 240 pounds. He can do it all on the outside. Love his game. As you move back into later rounds, the tackle depth is extremely heavy. But as you move back to 50 in the 50s, you look at a guy like Matthew Bergeron from Syracuse. I like his game. He was dominant at times at the Senior Bowl as well. Love his game. And the corners class is just extremely deep. I think you look at Jacorian Bennett from Maryland. I think you look at Cam Smith's running mate at South Carolina and Darius Rush, former wide receiver, really long physical athlete that can get after you at the line of scrimmage and flip his hips and carry you 40 yards down the field. So those are just a few names I think where Jacksonville can go, but I wouldn't be surprised even if they surprise that maybe grabbing an interior guy along the defensive line, maybe to get another pass rusher after losing Arden. They want a rotational piece. I think they can go in a bunch of different spots, and the reason why I say that is because they're getting better overall as a roster. So you're not trying to fill hole after hole after hole. You're just adding flat-out ball players, and I think they're in a good position to do so in the spring.
Yeah, the Jaguars have 9 draft picks in next month's NFL Draft. Ryan, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville what you have coming up there at thedraftnetwork.com.
Absolutely. Well, we have a live show actually tomorrow, Tuesday, March 21st at noon. It'll be on our Twitter and YouTube. That'll be live. And then on my Twitter, if you don't follow me already, _Ryan Fowler. And then all my written work and more audio and video content is housed at thedraftnetwork.com. We
love it. Thedraftnetwork.com. And Ryan Fowler is one of our favorites. Ryan, always appreciate the time. Let's try to do it one more time before the draft there in late April. Thank you, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Intelligent sports talk with an attitude.
She loved
Hey,
sorry.
That is awful.
It's a Jack speech at J1A.
You got me.
1010XL.
I did mumble one word.
Hi, this is Dave Barker. Want to grow your hair back?
IHRS, right here in Jacksonville, is the only hair transplant clinic in the Southeast to offer multi-unit hair grafting and the 45-minute PRP treatments. Grow your hair back. Call now for a free in-person evaluation. 904-777-IHRS. 904-777-4477 or visit hairforme.com.
Honda has done it again with their all-new exciting SUV and truck lineup for 2023. HRV, Pilot, Passport, Ridgeline trucks, and our popular CR-V hybrid. This is without a doubt Honda's most impressive lineup. Visit your local Honda dealer today. We're dealing.
If you're heading to the Og or you're already part of the nation's oldest, don't forget to drop into Sunset Grill. For over 30 years, serving up great chowder, seafood, wings, and cold beer. Sunset Grill, somewhere on A1A, St. Augustine Beach.
There's a world of difference between and that's why you can trust Famous Automotive and Tire when it comes to your vehicle's care. Because there's a difference between and. It all starts with the triangle of safety. Your tires, brakes, and the front end. Take care of those 3 points and your car will take good care of you. Start at Famous Automotive and Tires, 7 locations servicing every customer like they're famous.
When you want to be heard, send your opinion to the 1010XL text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures.
Thank you for believing in me when the bosses didn't give me a chance.
641-1010. No texting and driving. Get your thoughts heard on 1010XL.
I like to be active, and as you get older, I know it because I am older. You're more prone to injury, and I could not get rid of the pain.
QC Kinetics patient Diane Richardson talking about how a hiking injury left her in awful pain.
No one wants to live in pain. I certainly don't want to live in pain. I don't have time for pain.
Diane had heard about regenerative medicine, so she called QC Kinetics and started treatment right away. And the results were incredible.
I couldn't believe it. I honestly was skeptical, but the pain went from a 10 to a 0.
QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in using natural biologics, healing properties from your own body to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. There's no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime.
The result was phenomenal. I mean, I was not feeling any pain. I'm able to do everything that I want to do.
If you have pain from arthritis or injury, this may be the solution you're looking for. Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation.
It was a game changer.
904-274-5522. That's 904-274-5522. 904-274-5522.
Drivers and heavy truck mechanics, if you like sports, then you're going to love working at Waste Management.
We have a team atmosphere here where we're looking out for one another. We jump in to help out.
Listen up. WM is now offering a $5,000 new hire bonus to CDL drivers and heavy truck mechanics for jobs at our sites in Jacksonville, Green Cove Springs, Callahan, and St. Augustine.
It's camaraderie. It's everything. I like it.
Steady work, competitive pay, weekly paychecks, opportunities for overtime, paid training, and a generous boot and tool allowance.
Plus, over-the-top benefits like 100% tuition coverage for you and your family, and home every day.
CDL drivers and heavy truck mechanics. Apply online at WM.com/careers. That's WM.com/careers. Search driver and mechanic jobs in Jacksonville, Green Cove Springs, Callahan, and St. Augustine, Florida.
A people-first, military-friendly, equal opportunity employer. We are WM.
1010XL is your home for Gators sports.
That ball's ripped.
When you hear Florida Gators baseball on 1010XL, it's brought to you by Renewal by Anderson, the official window and door replacement partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733.
Fair ball, home run.
Catch Gators baseball all season long on 1010XL.
This is Hayes Carlyon for Kingfish Pest Control, a local family-owned business that specializes in pest, termites, mosquito, and rodent prevention. I tell you what, when I got my new home, I had to put on my reporter's hat, find out who really is the best, and it turns out there's no competition. Kingfish provides exceptional service and treats me like a valued customer, not just an account. That's why I wholeheartedly recommend Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Honey, come here, quick.
What is it?
Shh, check it out. The prices on all these highly rated tequilas are amazing. Total Wine must have made a mistake.
Nope, they always have the best deals in town. Remember that amazing reposado your sister brought over last week? See, it's right here.
Whoa, that's a low price. I mean, whoa, that's a low price.
With the lowest prices for over 30 years, you'll always find what you love and love what you find. Only at Total Wine & More. Drink responsibly. B21.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
That's right, early edition of Hacker After Dark, in for Rick Ballou. Coming up in less than 15 minutes, my friend Mark Wise of the ESPN family of networks. I often tell Mark he has forgotten more about college basketball than I'll ever know. He's our college basketball guy here on Hacker After Dark, and we will preview the Sweet 16, which gets underway tomorrow. They will go from 16 to 8 tomorrow and Friday, and then, of course, 8 to the Final Four on Saturday and Sunday. There is a lot of NFL news to get to before that, including some wide receiver news earlier today in the AFC. The New York Jets have signed their second wide receiver of the offseason. Remember, they signed former Jaguar Allen Lazard and, of course, former Green Bay Packer last week. Today, Mecole Hardman, formerly of Kansas City, heads to the New York Jets. Because of that, the Jets kind of had a log jam at wide receiver. They have traded Elijah Moore, former Ole Miss Rebel. Things did not work out in New York, mainly because he had Zach Wilson throwing him the ball. He's now on his way to Cleveland. In exchange, the Jets get a second-round pick from Cleveland. Cleveland gets Elijah Moore and a third-round pick. So actually not a bad deal for the Browns. I like Elijah Moore, and they get a third. They give up a second. So the Jets now have Garrett Wilson. They have Allen Lazard. They have Mecole Hardman, among others. They're just now waiting on Aaron Rodgers. And again, the Aaron Rodgers watch continues. It has been a week now since he made the announcement on the Pat McAfee show that he wants to play for the New York Jets, and seemingly nothing has happened. Yet, we will continue to wait for that. As far as the Browns go, that's a good deal. Again, Elijah Moore is a good football player. You know, Cleveland's a team that's kind of forgotten. When we talk about quarterbacks in the AFC, who do we talk about? Well, you talk about Patrick Mahomes, and you talk about Joe Burrow, and you talk about Josh Allen and Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert, right? Lamar Jackson, depending on what happens there. And there's Deshaun Watson, just kind of hanging out in Cleveland. Now, keep in mind, he went basically 2 calendar years without playing football. Last year, he missed the first 11 games before he came back, got 6 games under his belt towards the end. Deshaun Watson was arguably the second-best quarterback in the NFL other than Patrick Mahomes his last year or two in Houston. Can he find that form again? Cleveland's one of those surprising teams, right? Just kind of flying under the radar. But if Deshaun Watson finds his old form, they could potentially be very, very good. They have Amari Cooper. They have Nick Chubb. Today, they add Elijah Moore. Former Tennessee Titan Austin Hooper, tight end, signs with the Raiders, and the Titans, again, losing more veteran players. You think about all the guys that have left Tennessee this offseason, either being released or in free agency. Offensive guard Nate Davis, linebacker David Long, defensive lineman DeMarcus Walker, tight end Austin Hooper. They all left in free agency. The Titans cut linebacker Zach Cunningham, defensive end Bud Dupree, offensive tackle Taylor Lewan, center Ben Jones, kicker Randy Bullock, wide receiver Robert Woods. They got rid of a ton of guys. They've brought in some guys like Arden Key, brought in some guys like Andre Dillard from Philadelphia, guys that weren't necessarily starters but have potential. But very curious what Tennessee's doing. Derrick Henry coming into the final year of his contract. They're paying Ryan Tannehill just an obscene amount of money. Is it a rebuild in Tennessee? Should it be a rebuild in Tennessee? And if not, what are they doing by letting all these guys go and replacing them with younger, more inexpensive talent? We will certainly have to see. CBS Sports has also come out today and graded their top 10 moves to this point of the NFL offseason. No, Dearness Johnson signing with the Jaguars today did not make the list. Orlando Brown to Cincinnati is on the list. That's a good move by the Bengals, man. If Orlando Brown proves to be the player he was in Kansas City, that's good news for Joe Burrow and Cincinnati. Philadelphia re-signing James Bradbury. The Miami Dolphins made the list twice, bringing in Vic Fangio as their defensive coordinator and adding Jalen Ramsey via trade. I did have somebody on the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures, 641-1010, that basically did not agree with my thoughts that Jacksonville was a better all-around team than Miami was. In fact, I believe he used the term laughable in that thought. I'm trying to pull it up here. Look, I don't think Jacksonville is head and shoulders better than Miami. I wouldn't argue that point with you. But if you give me the option right now, based on division, based on opponents, and based on who I think is going to have a better record in 2023, Well, I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to have a better record in 2023. So, Miami, again, the AFC East is going to be insane. New England is the team that everybody's forgetting about, and they added Juju Smith-Schuster. They added Mike Gesicki. You forget about that. But everybody's talking about Buffalo. Everybody's talking about Miami. Everybody's talking about the New York Jets. The fact that each of those teams has to play each other on a round-robin scale in 6 division games within that division, there are going to be a lot of losses piling up on Miami, on the Jets, and on Buffalo. Meanwhile, Jacksonville has 2 against Houston, 2 against Indianapolis, 2 against Tennessee. They also play the NFC South. Carolina's going to have a rookie quarterback. What is Atlanta doing at quarterback? What's Tampa Bay doing at quarterback? So even though the Jaguars play a first-place schedule, they get it easy when it comes to their division and their NFC division opponent. More on Jacksonville, more on the National Football League coming up in just a little bit. Coming up next, the NCAA tournament starts back up tomorrow. We are down to the Sweet 16. How's your bracket look? My bracket is just annihilated, man. Annihilated. But let's preview the Sweet 16, and let's also talk a little Florida Gators. They've had 4 guys enter the transfer portal in the last 7 days. 4. Mark Wise of the ESPN family of networks talking NCAA tournament, talking a little Gator hoops. He's next on Hacker After Dark.
When you want action.
Jacksonville on the move here, first drive of the game.
It's 1010XL.
If you're a Jags fan, you better get your popcorn ready, because this guy's something.
Where the action is.
Why does everyone seem to hesitate to buy a used car these days? Probably because the warranties stink. Well, we only offer the best cars that can pass our 160-point inspection and qualify for the Beaver Certified program with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. You mean just Chevys and Toyotas, right? Nope, all of them. Nissans? Yep. Fords? That's right. Hondas? You bet. What about all of them? And if you want to see all of them, come see us at Beaver Toyota in St. Augustine or Beaver Chevrolet in Jacksonville.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation, light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to CarlsonDentalGroup.com. That's CarlsonDentalGroup.com for all of your dental needs.
Hey, Jack's Pizza, Jeff Lagerman here. Hungry for the best brisket, pulled pork, spare ribs, jalapeno poppers, banana pudding? The Bearded Pig is there for you on 3rd Street to feed your whole crew. And don't worry for the folks in town, we're still here in San Marco. The Bearded Pig, Southern Barbecue and Beer Garden.
Hey everybody, it's Mike Dempsey. Obviously, the summer temperatures are already here, and if you're like me, you want that oppressive Florida heat to stay outside the house. That's why I'm such a fan of Pella Windows and Doors. By now, we know that windows are the #1 way that heat gets in and the cold gets out. So when you're ready for the stylish design and energy efficiency that comes from Pella Windows and Doors, we invite you to visit their showroom on Phillips Highway next to Tesla, or find them online at PellaJacks.com.
Get to know Jacksonville's new free agents.
I'm a serious athlete.
Free agency profiles are brought to you by J. David Tax Law and Island Oaks RV Resort. Follow the off-season with Tire Outlet and 1010XL.
Are you an electrician looking for better pay and benefits? Miller Electric Company has the industry-leading compensation package. Electricians are eligible for a signing bonus up to $1,000. Now, they're partnering with the Jaguars on their new performance facility, the Miller Electric Center. Miller Electric has opportunities for you to work on some of the most exciting projects right here in Jacksonville. Whether you're experienced or not, visit MillerCareers.com, an equal opportunity employer. That's MillerCareers.com.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, it's Prosser here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days, and a $50,000 loan will only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money and pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement project. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. So even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness. Say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 904-999-1508. That's 904-999-1508. Or as always, you can visit loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
It's time to play Septic Tank Solutions. Question 1. How often should you get your septic tank pumped? Contestant 1?
When it starts running over in the yard?
No, that's a little late. Contestant 2? That's right, Duck. At least every 3 years.
For septic pump outs, inspections, to new septic tank and drain field installations, call Northeast Florida's only master septic contractor.
When you're stuck, call the Duck. 904-862-6769.
The best golfing weather is upon us, and Hidden Hills Golf Club invites you to enjoy your round of golf with us. Our warm and welcoming atmosphere and spectacular golf course keeps our customers coming back. Check us out at hiddenhillsgc.com. You'll be glad you did.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Beaches Jewelry and Pawn is ready to help. If you need extra cash or a quick loan, Beaches Jewelry and Pawn has cash in hand. They also love to buy items of value. They need gold, silver coins, and flatware, jewelry, guitars, and of course, guns.
Osprey fans, UNF Giving Day is today. Make a difference in UNF students' lives by supporting your favorite UNF cause. Every bit counts. Swoop and support the Ospreys. Visit givingday.unf.edu or call 620-GIVE.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL. Now, another interview on the Farah and Farah phone line. Brought to you by the Accident Attorneys at Farah and Farah.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. It started with 68. We are down now to the Sweet 16, and all the upsets have just completely annihilated brackets all over the country. With that, let me welcome in my friend Mark Wise of the ESPN family of networks. As I often say, this man has forgotten more about college basketball than I'll ever know, and he's our go-to guy here on 1010XL. Mark, how we doing?
I'm doing good, Hacker, and let me just say right up front that the left side of my bracket looks like one of my college English papers that I turned in because there's so many red marks on it. Now, my right side's okay, and we'll get into that in a little bit. My right side's in good shape. But, man, that left side reminds me of, what is it, English Lit 101.
I totally understand and can relate to that story, Mark, as a matter of fact. Mark Wise here with us. All right, so before we talk about the teams that quite frankly deserve to be talked about, I got to ask you about Florida. You called whatever that was in the NIT last week in round number 1. Florida loses at home by 20 to UCF. Since that loss, 4 Florida Gators have entered the transfer portal. Mark, what's going on in Gainesville?
Well, I don't think it's anything different than what's going on around the country. I'm a little surprised I didn't have Florida for a long time in the conference play and then had them twice after Castleton went down with injury. And I'm a little surprised we didn't see that team earlier. I don't think there's any question that Florida needs a talent upgrade on their roster, and they need it in a lot of places. So from that standpoint, it kind of goes both ways, that the coaches probably need to move on and the players need to move on. So no big surprise to me whatsoever.
I mean,
now, having said that, in terms of the game, when you go back and you look at the game, and when I was prepping for the game, I kept thinking, I'm not sure Florida can beat UCF. The reason why I say that is because I knew UCF had the best player on the floor in Taylor Hendricks. But what I didn't know until I saw in person is just how good Kelly is out front in the perimeter. UCF had by far the two best players on the floor, and usually when you have the two best players, you're going to win.
You know, Mark, I understand where we are in college basketball. There's a lot of turnover, but with 4 guys in the portal, that's at the time you and I are speaking. Who knows what it might be a week from now. All the guys leaving to graduation. I mean, Florida's 8 or 9 guys deep that from this team that won't be there beginning in October. I mean, you're talking about not only turning the roster over, you're almost talking about redoing the entire roster.
I'm just telling you, Hacker, that's where we are in today's world. I mean, you know, it's harder to recruit freshmen than it is transfers. That's one. So from that standpoint, because you had the turnover last year, you know, who knows what they'll be able to do in terms of freshmen. But the quicker fix and the better fix and the easier fix is right now through the portal. And I can't tell you how many teams I covered this year that had 5, 6, 7 new faces. Florida will be one of those next year.
Mark Wise of the ESPN family of networks talking college hoops. Now let's get to the madness. And there was a ton of madness going on beginning on Thursday. Mark, when Princeton beat Arizona 28 years after they beat UCLA, that was nostalgia. And then they turn right back around and win again to get to the Sweet 16, just having no trouble with Missouri whatsoever. I mean, Mark, how good is this Princeton basketball team?
Well, when we think of Ivy League or Princeton basketball, I think we tend to kind of underestimate the athleticism of some teams. And when you look at Princeton, I had Yale earlier in this year, so the same thing applies to them. You tend to think, well, this is not a very physical team. You know, it's not a very big team. They're not very athletic. Those things don't exist anymore in the Ivy League for the most part. And so I think that's a little bit surprising to people. It is interesting to me that Mitch Henderson kind of bookends the two Princeton stories that you're talking about. So from that standpoint, I was really surprised. Not that obviously I'm surprised in the first round win. And then the second round, I wasn't necessarily surprised that they beat Missouri, but it was how they beat Missouri. I mean, from playing in front so far, everybody freaks out and wanted to talk about Princeton out-rebounded Missouri by 14 in the game, which they did. But Missouri was a bad rebounding team all year. That wasn't the case. So they beat Missouri kind of doing their own game in terms of not turning the ball over and making threes.
Mark, how can you explain what Fairleigh Dickinson did to Purdue?
Well, I can't. First of all, that's the bottom line. I'm a huge Matt Painter fan. I love the way he coaches his team. I love his kind of unique honesty as it relates to talking to the media. One of the problems that I have, not only with Matt Painter, let me see if I can tie it to two things together at once. One of the problems I have with the way Purdue played in that game is that sometimes what you do best isn't working, and you've got to adjust and you've got to do something different. On Thursday, I went to Orlando. I went and saw the first round games in Orlando. And Hacker, I've been very fortunate because of how old I am and my many years in college basketball. I've seen some improbable things. I was in the arena when NC State won in Albuquerque and Jimmy B was running around the court. I was in Rupp Arena when Villanova played the perfect game against Georgetown. I was in the arena for the back-to-back Florida titles. I was in the arena when Villanova beat North Carolina at the buzzer. But I've got to add one more to that group, and that's the way the Virginia-Furman game played out at the end. And Kihei Clark, a 19th-year guy who just made a horrible decision and cost them the game because it's really they had the game won. I'm tying this all together because of this comment that Bob Ritchie, the head coach at Furman, made in the press conference after the game. He confessed. I noticed it. I'm with TJ Reeves, and I told TJ, this has changed the course of the game right now. With about 10 minutes to go in the game, Furman went to a 1-3-1 zone, and it completely changed the offensive flow for Virginia. They never did get on track from that point forward. Bob Ritchie in the press conference said, we've probably played that 1-3-1 zone maybe 15 possessions all year. But a couple of days ago, I thought, there might be a spot for it, and we better practice it just for a few minutes. So they did. My point being in all this, you don't have time in a one-and-done tournament to go, we'll make that adjustment next game. I mean, you've got to be willing to think outside the box. So the only complaint I really had, I thought Purdue should at least try to zone a little bit because it was obvious. It was obvious in the first half. And much like when Virginia lost to UMBC, the problem for Purdue was not that they lost the game in the second half. It was the fact that the first half score was 32-31. So the FDU had already established, hey, we've got the game in the middle of the ring. So I just thought that Purdue, because they're out quick, they needed to think outside the box. Furman did. Purdue didn't.
Mark Wise of the ESPN family of networks. Mark, I'm curious, from one broadcaster to another, we were all very fortunate, in my opinion, that Kevin Harlan happened to be on the call of that Virginia-Furman ending, and I know that video is making the rounds on Twitter. What a call there by Kevin Harlan.
Yeah, there's several things in play there, and I have seen it. First of all, he has a wonderful sense of the moment, but he also took over in the broadcast, which I really enjoyed, because he spread his arms out. That was to tell his two analysts, hey, lay out here. Let's let it breathe a little bit. And so it was a fabulous call, but it was also a fabulous producing, if we will, on the spot by Kevin Harlan.
Mark, let's get into some of the Sweet 16 action that's coming up beginning on Thursday night. There are 3 Southeastern Conference teams remaining. I'm assuming Musselman's going to put his shirt back on when Arkansas plays coming up this week. What a great scene that was when they beat Kansas. Arkansas is still alive. Alabama is a number 1 seed that has actually looked like a number 1 seed so far. And then Tennessee, very little trouble with Duke. Of the 3 SEC teams, who has the best chance of going to the Final Four?
Well, I think, first of all, let's talk about the left side of the bracket. I think things have kind of opened up for Alabama. Now, they do play, in my opinion, the toughest game for them to get through this weekend will be the first one with San Diego State. And that has to do with more – it has nothing to – I think Creighton will beat Princeton handily, and that's not a knock on Creighton. I love this Creighton team. But San Diego State, it does the one thing that Alabama has struggled with at times this year, and that's when teams are physical against them. I'm anticipating that Alabama and Tennessee will both go to the Final Four. And when you talk about things opening up for a team like Tennessee, my goodness. And FAU's a great story. Dusty May, he may be National Coach of the Year, and deservedly so. But again, Tennessee is so big and so physical. I just don't know that they're going to have a whole lot of trouble with Florida Atlantic as long as Tennessee can make some shots. I think they'll probably end up playing Michigan State, because Michigan State, I don't think, will allow Keontae Johnson and Marquise Noel to do what they did to Kentucky. But, man, here's the thing, if you're Alabama, that you've got to love, Hacker. Everybody on the right side of the bracket, I think there are a multitude of teams on the right side of the bracket that can beat Alabama, whether you're talking about Houston or Texas or Arkansas, UConn, or UCLA, Gonzaga. I think there's any of those teams could beat Alabama. Alabama's only got to play one of them.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of the draw.
It certainly has opened up for Alabama. There's no question about that. We mentioned Florida Atlantic, and Gator fans are kind of rolling their eyes because here's a guy that was on the Gator bench for many years. He goes down to FAU, has them in the Sweet 16, while Florida finishes a 16-17 campaign with Todd Golden. But what a job by FAU. Now, did they get a little lucky with Fairleigh Dickinson? Yeah, maybe. But that win over Memphis, Mark, was awfully impressive.
Yeah, I mean, a really good game, a fun game, outcome in doubt until the end. I will talk about, I got asked about this yesterday in terms of Dusty May. You know, timing is 9/10 of coaching in terms of making moves. Nobody was talking about hiring Dusty May a year ago. And that's when the Florida job came open. So that the timing just didn't exist for those two. It's no different than do you think the guy that is now the head coach at Iona, who came from FPU today, took the Iona job today, you think a year ago, if the timing had happened, that Iona would have even looked at him?
Right.
So again, it's all about the timing. And in terms of Dusty May in Florida, it was just they're off by a year.
I go back to Dunk City with Florida Gulf Coast. That guy got the Southern Cal job the next year.
Right.
So would Southern Cal have ever looked to Florida Gulf Coast for the next head coach? Of course not, yeah. So you're right about the timing. The other Florida team, Mark, is still alive, and that's the Miami Hurricanes. And they've looked awfully impressive, including a good win over Indiana. What's Miami's chances this weekend?
Well, when they got the big guy back inside Orchard, that really helped them, because that was the one thing missing down the stretch when he was out for the last couple of weeks. They're going to need him, because we talk about Tennessee playing physical. Houston does the exact same thing. I'm just afraid that Houston is so good, they will match up on the perimeter as well as Miami can as well as Miami can go at you on the perimeter. And I just think Houston has too many weapons right now. Sasser he looked sensational the other day. So do I give Miami a chance? Yeah, but they'll have to have some help from Houston.
Final moments here with Mark Wise of the ESPN family of networks talking NCAA tournament. All right, Mark, when all is said and done, Sunday evening, who's going to the Final Four?
Well, I think I've got Alabama and Tennessee on the left side, and oddly enough, my picks on the right side are still alive. And I have, and this may surprise you a little bit, Texas, and I have UConn. Now, I will tell you, I think the best matchup in the Sweet 16 is the game between UConn and Arkansas. I think this will be a knockdown, drag-out. You talk about two combustible head coaches. There will be a lot of fireworks in this game, both on the floor, off the floor. I've said this last week. I think when we talked, you just don't understand how big Arkansas is on the perimeter in terms of Black and Davis. How good was Devo Davis in that Kansas game where he went for 25 and 8 before fouling out? So to me, that's the one game I'm going to watch on Thursday. And then on Friday, well, I'm going to watch them all. Let me be honest there. But that's the one game that jumps out at me. And on Friday, the one game that jumps out at me is the contrast of styles, the Alabama-San Diego State game.
Mark, leave us with this. We got about 60 seconds. The TV ratings are way up this year.
Yeah.
That's good news for college basketball. Why do you think more people are tuning in?
More parity. More parity means more upsets. And everybody, when I say this all the time, our game has never been older. And when you're older, you have more parity. That being said, all fans agree until it's their team. And they go, no, that shouldn't impact our team. Well, it does. And so the difference between being 6th in the country and 26th is one possession, and 26th and 96th is one possession. That's the beauty and the curse of the NCAA tournament.
And we've seen it this year, all the upsets, all the close games. It has been a phenomenal opening weekend, and hopefully that drama continues into the round of the Sweet 16. Mark Wise of the ESPN family of networks. He's our college basketball guy here on 1010XL. Mark, thank you for the time. I know you're going to be very busy next week. We'll try to weasel our way in there for about 10 minutes to preview the Final Four with you. Enjoy the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight, my friend.
Thanks, Ryan. Enjoy the madness.
And thank you to my friend Mark Wise of the ESPN family of networks for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark as the Sweet 16 gets underway tomorrow. 4 games tomorrow, 4 games on Friday, and then Saturday a couple of games, Sunday a couple of games, and we will have our Final Four all set. Pretty crazy how quickly it gets from 68 down to the Final Four. Well, that'll just about do it for what has been a very busy Wednesday night edition of Hacker After Dark. Thank you guys for hanging out with us again. We've been in for Rick Ballou this evening. Again, thank you to Mark Wise of the ESPN family of networks for talking a little NCAA tournament with us. Thank you to Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network. He had a sit-down interview with Ventrell Miller. Gator fans, go to thedraftnetwork.com. I think you'll find that conversation very interesting. We also talked to Anthony Richardson and, of course, a little Jacksonville Jaguars with my friend Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network and Dalton Miller of ProFootballNetwork.com. Always nice enough to stop by and join us here on Hacker After Dark as we looked at the Jaguars, the rest of the AFC South, which I'll tell you, doesn't appear to be all that great right now. You're going to have a first-year head coach and a rookie quarterback more than likely in Houston, a first-year head coach and a rookie quarterback more than likely in Indianapolis. Is Tennessee in a rebuild? Kind of looks that way. And then you got the Jaguars. So certainly the Jaguars in very good shape right now when it comes to the AFC South. Now, this is our final show of the week. We are gone both Thursday and Friday, taking a couple of days off. We'll be right back here on Hacker After Dark Monday night beginning at 8 o'clock. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the Hacker Ryan Green. And Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Wednesday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. So for all of us here on HAD, have an absolutely terrific remainder of your Wednesday. Have a terrific remainder of the week. And we will talk to you Monday night beginning at 8 o'clock. Until then, good night, Jacksonville.
From Duval to the world, all communication lines are clear. Download the 1010XL apps for free on Apple and Android devices and listen wherever life takes you.
Garber Automall has started Truck Wars 2023, and Garber Ford has called in backup. We have been allotted an incredible inventory from Ford, and that means you get to save thousands.